For your next project, you're going to be making an animation using a program called Stykz. We're going to open Stykz. This is what we start with. You'll have your recent documents listed over here. You shouldn't have any at the moment. And down here we have create a new document. So we're not going to click on blank document. We'd rather start with something in it. So we're going to click on default document. When you click on it, it takes a minute or two for the whole entire program to load. It loads in sections. So you have all these different elements which are part of your Stykz program. Okay, we have our stage, which is where everything on here is what's going to appear in your animation. We have our tools. We have our frames, and animation is made up of multiple different frames. We have our controller where we can play, rewind, skip to different frames, and we can slow down the frames to slow down how quickly it goes. Our library, which possibly will not be open when you start, so we'll go to that in a minute. We have our figures property. These are in the properties is how you can change every element of your Stykz character. If you are missing any of the palettes, they're called palettes, we're gonna just click on Windows, and I'm missing the command palette and the library palette. The command palette is not as important because you can get to all the elements without it. If you would like to have it, great. You do not need to. The library is important if you want to make different elements and save them so you can reuse them at a later point, which we'll get to soon. To begin with, we start with our Stykz character. Our character is made up of segments, line segments, circle, and these red and this yellow dot. The dots are called nodes, and they allow you to move something. So if I click on a node, I can move it. Okay, any node will allow you to move, and the yellow one will allow you to drag your object wherever you want to go. Okay, so we have our segment, we have our pivot, they're called pivot modes because it allows us to pivot, and our drag node. Okay, now when you're creating your animation, whatever you're doing, so let's say for example we're having this man move across the page, we have to set him up to move to look like he's in a walking position. So we're going to arrange him. Okay, and I'm actually going to give him some feet. So I'm going to click here in the line segment to add a line. In order to add something, you have to click on a node. So let's get this guy out of the way. Whoops, okay, I know it's in the way. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to click on the red. You see I have that plus sign, I have the red. And now I could drag. You have to click again to undrag. So the feet are going to be small. We don't need to give him big feet. We're going to click and it will release, but I'm still on this line segment tool. I'm going to make another one and click, and I have to switch my tool to the select tool. If you don't switch it, you're going to keep creating segments all over your page. So I have my man, I have my feet. Okay, before we start making him walk, let's do some editing. If I want to change the color of any of my segments or my lines or my circle, we have to select it. So I'm going to click on the sub select tool, which is the white arrow, and I'm going to click on that area. So you see this selection, this segment is red. That means I'm selected on it, and I have my properties now. I could make it thinner. You see I can make his foot thinner. I could lengthen it through this. If I made it too long by accident, I could shorten or lengthen it, and I can rotate it. I can change the angle. And of course, I could change the color. Okay, so I could pick any color, and I could do the same. Let's go back to this guy, and we could do the same thing. Okay, everything can be changed. The face, okay, the circle rather, has two separate colors because we have the outside, which is the color, and then the inside, which is the fill color. So this is would be the outside, just so we could see the difference, and then we have the fill color. Okay, if we want to make it see-through, then we can uncheck this opaque. Why does it matter if it's see-through if our background is white? Because we could set the stage color as well. Okay, if you click on the stage, we have the background color, and I could just make that any color I want really. Okay, and now you could see that my circle, my face is, let's get Back here is hollow, right? If I wanted to fill it in, I would uncheck that opaque. Okay, so now we have some basic properties set up. Um, let's say I wanted to add something, right? I want to give him a ball. So I'm going to click and drag. Now I don't need to be selected on any other node because I want it to be its own element. Okay, if I wanted them to be together, let's go back here and I'm going to undo. Then I could click and on his hand, drag a ball. Okay, then they'll be connected. There's no grouping option in here, which I know a lot of people ask. If I wanted to make it look fully like a ball, of course I could just make the fill color black. Okay, it was red because I was selected on it. That's how you know you're selected on something. Now, we're going to start making our animation. So let's get rid of this ball. Okay, and now we're going to start working with our frames. This is our first frame. You see what's going on here. Okay, nothing happened yet. I'm going to set up my guy as I want him to be. Okay, now to make a good animation, you have to make let's make sure I'm on the right tool. You have to make very slow movements, okay? That's how it's going to look like a smooth animation. So I'm going to click on next frame. Now when I move this node, watch what happens when I move the figure. I have a shadow. It's called an onion skin to show me where I was last time so I can arrange my figure and know the correct position for this time. So I'm going to have him start moving every part of him to make sure that it looks realistic. And you're going to keep going. You're going to have more than 100 frames probably. Now, it doesn't mean that he should have very, very, very small differences in his movements. It means that you have to have something happen, but it shouldn't be, this would be a frame. You have to make clear and decisive movements in order for there to be a difference from frame between all the different frames. Okay, and let's just do. Okay, and if I click on play over here, I could see that I have my man starting to walk, right? I could slow down my speed. Okay, and then I have my frame. Now let's say I wanted to add a street. How would I do that? I would just add a line. So I'm going to click and I'm going to click and I'm going to release. Say I could just add it in. And let's say I wanted this to be a little bit thinner. We know how to do that now. And this I'm going to use over and over again. So I'm going to save this to my library. So after I create this, I'm going to figure and I'm going to add to library. You're going to give it a name, something that you'll remember, and click on OK. And now I'll have my street. And I could use as many as my streets, as many streets as I want. I could just click and drag. Okay, so you can make however many you need, always moving them with the yellow. At the end of the period, you're going to save your document files, save as. You're going to save it with your name, an appropriate name only, with your name and either animation or the name of your animation listed over here. It will go into an animations folder in your documents folder. You're going to click on save. This is completely done. So after a period or two, when you are done, in order for other people to view it who do not have Stykz, you need to export this file. We need to save it in a movie format. We're going to click on File, Export Animation. We have to change our save as type from animated GIF to QuickTime Movie. Okay, it's now a movie file. We see that. You're going to save these changes. It's still going to be in the animations folder in your My Documents folder. You're going to save it. You're also, of course, going to save a copy to your class file in LinkStation. Okay, we should all know how to get to that by now. If we go to Students, right, we go to Students, LinkStation. I don't really need to show you this. You're going to click on your class and you're going to click on Save. Okay, have fun, make something very creative and, of course, appropriate.